name's Ross.
And welcome to our second episode. It is Thursday, November 17th, and the Pacers are coming off two solid wins on Monday night and Wednesday night against the Magic, 88-69, against the Cavs last night, 103-93. Let's start with the Magic first, Ross. What do you think of a pretty decisive win on Monday night?
Vogel's return in Indianapolis, it was nice to see him, but Pacers actually put on a good defensive show finally, or maybe they've turned the corner. I looked up some stats. Before these two games, Pacers were 29th in defensive efficiency. After these two games, they're up to 13th. So have they turned the corner and finally started playing defense or bought into the system?
Well, I think they definitely have been playing better as of late. I think Monday has been talked about a lot about the Pacers in that game on Monday. The Magic retired. Came off a really nice win against the Thunder where Ibaka had the best game maybe of his career. And then he follows it up with a 3 of 13 performance. So obviously some tired legs, but I think the Pacers are starting to make some turns. But I think really Wednesday reaffirmed that it wasn't just the Magic. It was really the Pacers making some moves there. So on Wednesday night, winning 103-93. No LeBron, we'll get to that in a second. But takeaways from the nice win against the Eastern Conference leaders.
That the Cavs really need LeBron. I mean, Kevin Love and Kyrie still had their 20-plus, but I was very impressed watching the Pacers overall. Miles Turner, I can't remember how many blocks he had, at least 4, if not 5. Even Monte had 5. Another good defensive performance. PG only had 20, 21. Everybody else played really well. It felt like a complete game for once. It felt good. I hope this is the things to come with this team.
Yeah, and I think we saw on the offensive end, especially in the first quarter, again the third quarter, kind of when the starters had their time there, we saw what was harped on all training camp, pushing the pace, putting the ball in the middle of the floor so it can get to all angles on the court. I know there was a play that Quinn slowed down a couple times where it was PG on the fast break, hits Brooks in the middle of the court and finds, I think it was CJ in the corner for a 3, but really they just pushed the pace the whole game. Teague was really aggressive going to the hole. It was nice to see kind of all of those things talked about in training camp finally come to fruition.
On that kind of, watching the players hustle, I think maybe, hopefully, McMillan saw that too and he's going to start playing it more often.
Yeah, and there are a lot of positives to take from the game, but I mean, Seraphin did get 8 minutes compared to Jefferson's 7 and Lavoie's 10, but he really only came in there because Big Al was not playing well early on at all. So that makes me think, if Al starts to have a decent game and Lavoie isn't, if he's at least making some plays, does Seraphin even get in the game last night? So it'll be really interesting to see if they can experiment with Seraphin at the 4. I know he's a center, but he's 6'9", and he's not like a big guy like Miles as far as height-wise, but I think just the way he brings energy to that second unit, even to the first unit, because you have to remember, he started in place of Miles Turner for the preseason just to get that first unit some vibes, and they played really well together.
Maybe he's a different kind of big man, like I'd have to look into more detail, but maybe Al Jefferson had a tough time because he had to guard Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love. Those are new age big men that pull him away from mobile bigs, pull him away from the basket, whereas Seraphin has the agility to get out there and do that. Now, Big Al, not so much anymore at the later stages of the career.
Yeah. So again, Jeff Teague with a really solid night, 28 and 4, and Thad Young, who was really aggressive to start the game. Obviously, they wanted him to attack Kevin Love, and I think that's what they should start doing. Thaddeus is really a 3, so make him attack all those 4s out there, especially those like a poor defender like Kevin Love. Attack them from the get-go and make them uncomfortable. And Kevin Love, I mean, he had 27 points, but 11 of 23, so he had to take a lot of shots to get there. So just making guys uncomfortable. But one thing that everyone's been talking about today, LeBron James didn't play last night, rest. Same thing happened last year, I think, in their second meeting at home. In my opinion, my thought is that they planned this far before the season started. They looked at the schedule, 3 out of 4. This is their 4th game, I think 3 nights. 3rd game of 4 nights, I'm sorry, but a lot of preparation in order to keep him healthy for the playoffs.
Just kind of stinks he always takes Indianapolis as his break at the beginning part of the season. Yeah. I know a lot of fans last night went to the game hoping to see LBJ. That wasn't the case. I heard there were a lot of scalpers out front. I read that too. A lot of stories this morning about is that right? Is that fair to the fans, people who travel to see a superstar like that, and then he sits? And I just think tough luck, man. I mean, players are resting. It's not like the Spurs when they benched the whole team that one time, but you know.
And I mean, you can't put this on the Cavs at all because they're trying to win a championship just like we are. If we were in their position, we had a player like LeBron who was, you know, he's still in the prime of his career, but he's getting older. We're going to take every precaution possible. But what I was thinking about all day, and I went back and forth with Ben Gibson, who runs 8.9 seconds, is that this really falls more on the NBA as far as reaching, and the players union for reaching a better deal in the CBA. The preseason, no player likes that. I was listening to a pod with JJ Redick. I mean, no player enjoys the preseason. Having that many games just, you know, puts off time and makes the season longer. So shortening up that preseason, starting the season earlier, you know, that eliminates a lot of back-to-backs. So more likely a player is, you know, likely to, like LeBron, play back-to-back.
Once they finalize that CBA, we'll have to break it all down. But I think they were talking about a shorter preseason, not by a ton, but just a couple. So they are listening, but I hear what you're saying. And
to go again on this thought of, you know, how do you make sure players play as many games as they can for the fans? You know, this is a strategy. It's not a team saying I'm not going to play my best player for any other reason other than strategy.
Yeah.
And you know, there are ways, you know, shortening the season. I think a few games is at maximum what the NBA would be thinking about doing, but at the end of the day, it comes down to TV deals and money. Owners are not going to be willing.
It messes up legacy stats kind of thing if they mess with that stuff,
Owners are not going to be willing
to spread it out, not so many back-to-backs, give guys more breaks in between, because it feels like right now it's every other night at least for these guys, and that's a lot.
Yeah, it takes a toll.
Playing 40-plus minutes a game, LeBron never comes out, it feels like.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look at the upcoming schedule here. We've got some fun games ahead. Tomorrow night against the Suns, the first Hickory night of the season. Suns are struggling, as many people predicted. They've got a lot of young pieces here. What do you think about some of these young guys?
I thought they would be better. Well, it's maybe a year too soon. Every year there's that one team. 2 years ago was the Jazz. We thought they'd rise up. This year everyone felt Timberwolves was their year, but it takes some time to develop. And I feel like the Suns, maybe next year, maybe the year after, once all these young guys develop. I mean, Booker is a great centerpiece to work around. Bledsoe's a great guard for them. They will be tough, but I think it should be a win for the Pacers.
Yeah, I agree. Devin Booker, last night got his first ejection, and he signed an autograph on the way out. That was pretty cool. But they've got a lot of really unique pieces. T.J. Warren is, everyone kind of knows about Devin Booker out of Kentucky, but T.J. Warren out of NC State, he's a beast. He's averaging as many points as Devin Booker is, and his defense is really picked up. So those are two guys I think they're going to really build on. I saw a report today saying that they haven't had any luck trying to find a trade partner for Brandon Knight. Tyson Chandler is coming back. I know. They've had, I mean, you think about that year they started off with Bledsoe, Dragic, and Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, man.
It just doesn't make any sense. But they've got some assets. But looking at the game, key matchups, what do you see?
Oh, I looked up some stats first before that. The Suns lead the league in fouls per game, so you'd attribute that to a young team. They're not, you know, up to the NBA rigors yet. They also lead the league in pace, so they're going to push it. So that'll be interesting to watch at least. And then Devin Booker, you mentioned, you know, the player to watch. He's only shooting 29.6% behind the arc, and that's supposed to be his strength. So I attribute it to young team getting ready. But yeah, the key matchups. Let's watch Booker, and if Ellis has to guard him, Booker may have a big night.
Yeah, Booker has some size, but I think he's just shooting every time he gets it. And I think they've given him the green light. Him and Warren, they've given those two players the green light. They've also got Dragan Bender, Marquise Chris. Those are two lottery picks this past year. So they've got some talent, but obviously this is a team looking to rebuild. Tyson Chandler's a nice veteran to have around. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with Bledsoe and Knight. Do they keep him around, or do they try to develop a guy like Ulis? So they're a team in flux, like the Magic we talked about last week. Like a lot of teams right now in flux. They know they're not going to compete, but they're trying to find a little niche.
It'll be a fun game to watch, I think. Both teams are going to want to push the ball. Bledsoe, his points per game kind of roller coaster, 21-8, 28, so we'll see if we get a lot from him, but it'll be a fun game for the Pacers, I think.
And to the point you made about them pushing the pace, I think this might be the third game in a row now where Seraphin might get some serious minutes because Big Al won't be able to run with that team, which is a good thing because I think that the coaching staff and Larry needs to see as much as they can of Seraphin running up and down the court, making energy plays and changing the game.
And they don't have a big man who scares me, really. Alex Lynn, Tyson Chandler, no. I mean, they're going to get you rebounds, but outside of that, I think it's a good chance for our big guy, especially like Miles Turner, to feast on
the big night. I agree.
Front.
So I think we're both going to go with the Pacers for the first Hickory night.
Yeah, well, when we picked our picks, I think I picked this as a win. I think you're ahead of all of us, though, because I didn't call the Cavs.
I know.
But
I feel really good about it.
We're banking on LBJ to be there, so yeah, I'm picking the Pacers for this one.
I am as well. Just staying with my pick from Sunday's show. All right, let's move on to Sunday night, the first of a back-to-back. Mm-hmm. Might be the toughest back-to-back that there is in the league. Mm-hmm. At the Thunder on Sunday. Obviously, a very tough matchup for the Pacers just because Russell Westbrook is a tough matchup for anybody. There's no one who can really guard him. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about it later in the year about MVP, who we want to pick for that, but I love watching him play. Russell Westbrook is maybe my favorite player to watch in the NBA because he goes 110% all the time, and now that he's the only one there, another random stat that I'll talk about in another show in the future, but his usage rate is 41.7%. Wow. League average is 15%, so he's being used twice as an average guy, and the usage rate is how many times he shoots, assists on a pass, or has something to do with the offense. So he is involved in nearly half the possessions when he's on the floor. He's a big part of their team, almost all of their team.
And I saw a stat on ESPN saying that I think Harden and Westbrook right now equate to almost 60% of either the team's points or assists.
Yeah, and with that though, exactly. With that though, his PER, efficiency ratio, he's second. So he's getting to touch the ball a lot, but he's doing good things with it. So the beginning of the year, I don't remember what they started off to. They had that really hot start. I thought, oh, maybe they are not too bad without Durant, but they've come back to earth now. Mm-hmm. It'll be an interesting game to see. I mean, who's going to guard him is what I was wondering this morning. Would you put PG on him, or would you just hope T can contain him? Yeah. It's going to be a mess.
Hope and pray. I mean, I think, they've come back to earth, as you said, and you mentioned in the first pod, is this sustainable? I don't think so. I just think that look at their bench, not very strong, but when you have two guys like Durant and Westbrook, that changes the team. But obviously, Russ is going to be a tough player to stop. He's electric when he gets to the rim. He's a tough finisher, and he gets guys going. Other than that, Oladipo, pesky defender. We know him well just because we're IU fans. Cantor is really tough off the bench. He just scores. Adams will be a very tough matchup for Miles.
Yeah, those guys need to help out Russ if they're going to want to do anything more than just make 7 or 8 spot in the East. I looked up a stat on Oladipo. He's kind of their George Hill from last year. Stand in the corner and watch Russ do his thing. It said that he's third in the league for corner threes, right behind CJ Miles. Wow. They need him to do more than just shoot corner threes. But
yeah. And I think he will. I mean, I think it takes time, especially with a player like Russ, to get used to playing with him. I mean, Victor Oladipo's never played with a player like that on the Magic, obviously, but just playing with a player like Russ who just puts everything on himself to be the player, to lead the team, to do everything, it takes some time to deal with. But with some keys to the game we had down, just containing Russ, make him take threes. He's one of the worst career three-point shooters in the industry.
He's going to get his points, but make him shoot a lot to get those points, right?
Make him make tough shots. Nothing easy. That's why long rebounds, we'll talk about the Thunder later, but bad shots, bad steals, it's not good.
No, yeah, and then rebounds will be a tough bet with that Nephilim man down low with Cantor and I can't remember his name, you just mentioned it, but Adams. Not a lot of rebounds to go around for the Pacers.
No.
It'll be fun.
I think I took this as the one loss of the week. I think the team might have Golden State on their mind more than they might have the Thunder coming back to Indy the next day, but we'll see.
I think Zach's the only one who took this as a win. I hope Zach's right, but I'm going to take it as a loss too. I think Thunder are going to get him here. Second of a back-to-back and all that energy, it'll be tough for them to contain.
Yeah. So talking about the second of the back-to-back, the Warriors coming here on Monday.
Oof.
Everyone's been waiting for this one. Obviously, a tough team right now. They're just a juggernaut, especially with a team like the Pacers, who they have a premier defender in Paul George. And George Hill was a great defender, but even he can't stop Steph Curry. So it's going to be a team effort. I wrote down here, key personnel, everyone. It's just cover everyone.
Look at the starting lineup. It's like, okay, well, we can shut down.
I think you'll see that again this season, but one thing that doesn't concern me, but sticks out with a team like the Warriors. I mean, they're a super team. They've got 4 super players who, on any other team, would probably be the best player.
Yeah.
So people talk about it some, but who's going to take the shots? Who's going to, if someone gets in a rhythm, does that mean everyone else doesn't get the ball? Hopefully, Paul George can do a good enough job where he kind of doesn't take out Durant. No one takes out Durant, but kind of diverts more of those shots to other players. Thompson is averaging 18 points per game, I think it is, which is
a little down from normal.
Obviously, a little down from usual, but it's going to take a team effort. I mean, this is a very, very, very tough team.
And have you looked at their bench? It's some old names: JaVale McGee, the Shaqtin' a Fool champion. David West is there now too. Maybe chasing one more title or his first title before he retires. Yeah, it'll be a long night. I hope PG gets to stagger some minutes, but I feel like they may just have to ride him the whole game.
Yeah, that's one thing we had down is how do you stagger the lineup to keep Paul George fresh? So that means hopefully on Sunday night, they either take care of business or if they know they're not going to win, then they get him out of there. They get Sarge out.
We'll need everything he's got.
Yeah, we're going to need his legs. I haven't looked at the schedule for the rest of next week, but we're going to need some rest after that one. How do you stagger the minutes? Hopefully Stucky's back just to kind of beat up on Curry, not really to guard him, just to actually beat him up and down the court.
Get physical with him. He's supposed to possibly be back Friday night. We'll see if that happens, but it'd be nice to get him back in the rotation.
Absolutely. And I think one huge key with the Thunder, a team that thrives on transition threes, tossing the ball back behind to a trailing 4, a trailing 3, Durant. No bad turnovers. You'd rather have a shot clock violation or just throw the ball out of bounds than have you a bad cross-court pass or a bad long 3 that just leads to a wide-open 3, which just kills you. Because those are those 5-point swings or 6-point swings where the game just changes in a second. That's why they're so good.
I agree.
All right. So, I don't know. What are we thinking here? Are we thinking...
I think it's a loss.
I haven't thought about it too much just because I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take the Pacers here because I think that they go 2 wins here. I know I said they lost.
I don't think we picked this one yet, but
it's going to be a really tough game as it is against a super team like the Warriors. But
I'm afraid the defensive problems we've seen earlier this season are going to come back because there's going to be a lot of drive and kick, and the whole team's going to collapse, and there's going to be open 3 shooters. I'm picking a loss for the Pacers.
And keep in mind, last year at Golden State, Miles Turner had one of his 30-point games, so he creates kind of a matchup problem for them. Especially, with their bigs, they lost Bogut. So Bogut, the guy he could guard Miles.
This game is at home. It's here in Indy.
But Zaza can't guard Miles Turner. David West can't guard Miles Turner with that height.
He's just.
He'll probably foul a lot. But we'll see if Miles Turner, and I think Paul George is due for a breakout game. He hasn't really had one of those 35, 37-point games where he just goes off. And I don't think there's really a defender on there who can kind of take him. I know Durant's a pretty good defender, but I think it's Paul George's night.
Okay, you're calling a Pacer win. Well, last thing we wanted to touch on, I'm going to let you talk about it because you were actually there.
Oh, Northwestern.
Northwestern and Butler, you want to talk about how that game went down?
Well, yeah. So this is a segment for all those Butler Bulldog fans. Butler, that was a game they should have won. I think everyone expected them to win. Northwestern doesn't have a lot of size. They're still, Chris Collins and his staff are still trying to figure out the team. And the Bulldogs are as well. They've got a lot of pieces. It's just going to be a matter of how do they fit together. Keelan Martin is a stud. He's a candidate for preseason player of the year. I'd say him and Trayvon Blewett are probably the front runners this year.
This is the first year that all the guys on the team are the coach's pick, right? This is
Shravich is
one more year.
Okay. Shravich, I think, is the only one who's actually recruited by Stevens. I think Tyler Weidman, and Keelan Martin were recruited by Brandon Miller before Holtman. But this team's got a lot of interesting pieces. Obviously, the star of last night was the freshman, Kamar Baldwin from Atlanta. The kid is electric.
Lefty.
I went to the game. I went to the game last night with an old Park Tudor assistant. I told him before the game, watch out for this kid. I mean, it's funny because Tyler Lewis, the starting point guard for Butler, he's a great player. McDonald's All-American, went to NC State, left. Rodney Purvis was there, who's now at UConn. But here you have a McDonald's All-American just starting point guard, and that freshman just ate Brian McIntosh up, who's a established point guard for Northwestern. I mean, a Big Ten point guard. Ate him up. McIntosh didn't want anything to do with him, and every time Baldwin was in the game, he changed the game for Butler. So I know you saw some highlights. Did you get to catch anything, or what did you see?
Most of the highlights they showed was that buzzer-beating shot, that step back by Baldwin, was it?
Yeah, Baldwin again.
The left-hander. It was very exciting.
Yeah, no, they're going to be good. I know the Big East is going to be there competitive as usual, but again, finding the right pieces, the right lineup. I really like when Baldwin's in the game, but he is not the tallest defender, tallest player. I'm sorry. So playing him with Lewis is going to be tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year that Baldwin is starting over Lewis, a freshman starting over a senior McDonald's All-American, which is odd to see, but the way he's playing, he just changes the game for them. Especially when they have Keelan Martin, who obviously is a great player. They don't really have, other than Shrabish, who can get you about 15, about as usual. They don't really have a second, just go get me a bucket player. So having a guy on the defensive end who can create points, that could be huge for them. And I'm excited for them. They're finally they've gotten their feet wet in the Big East. They've won some big games in the Big East, but now it's really cementing themselves as a powerhouse. So we'll look forward to other Butler games in the future. All right, and that about wraps it up for us. Thanks for watching. Ross, where can they catch us?
iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube.
Yep.
Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at The Corner 3 Show, Instagram, Corner 3 Show, Facebook, The Corner 3 Show. And catch us on Monday. We'll be doing our regular weekly pod. The audio will be up Monday night, and the video on YouTube will be up on Tuesday. Thanks for joining.
See ya.